OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. Welcome to Circle of Hearts Radio. Journey with Grandmother Allayah as she enters her magical world of relics, sacred sites, and ancient crystal skulls. Meet with exciting trailblazer authors and individuals shifting the consciousness of humanity. Send her your questions to be answered on air on her monthly segment, Ask the Oracle. And now your host, Grandmother Allayah, in the Sanctuary on the airwaves on OMTimes Radio.
I was really zoned out today. Welcome to Circle of Hearts Radio. I am Allayah, and welcome to my sanctuary. Today, I'm bringing back Robbie Holz, and she has caused me to really be in a deep reflective mood all this week, and that's why I'm a little zoned out here. We're going to be talking about her book, The Aboriginal Secrets of Awakening, and that awakening is really a very pivotal word here. You have, that's what I said, my mind is trying to get myself back, and I was talking to her today, pre-show, getting myself all together. I want to connect the two of her books. In the first book, we talked about her husband and his challenges and his own awakening to his own spirit. And today, in her book, we go more into her details. But have you ever met someone in your life that strikes you and so soul-wise that they cause you to really think? And this is what happened with Robbie this weekend, and that's why I'm really kind of out of it here. But Robbie, are you there?
I am. I'll take full responsibility for that.
Okay. Like I
Sorry
said,
about that.
No, I'm really, you really have deeply affected me. Like, so I'm listening to music, I'm going, oh, geez, it stopped. Now I got to talk. All right, come back, Allayah. Come back.
We got to pull you out for a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. The whole thing with the two books, what I want people to realize, they're not books. We're talking about people. We're talking about personalities. We're talking about two people revealing the song of their soul. And it's something that everybody can relate to. You know, they're not teaching you anything. They're sharing something very personal. It really touches your heart. And I know just meeting Robbie, she's so charismatic and so real and so authentic. I talked to her this week, and I'm going, oh, I finally get things. So I know I'm going off, but this is why I so enjoy bringing these two books on, because the first one is about Gary, and the second one has to, it follows through and how she met Gary and joining of the two beautiful, the dance of the souls together. It is such a beautiful story, and how she's evolving herself. So let me stop babbling. Let me get to this book. And these are questions that she had presented I could lead into, and I'm taking them word for word because I couldn't do this any better, and especially my state of mind today. It goes, Robbie, your husband, Dr. Gary Holz, traveled to a remote Aboriginal village and hoped that the healers could reverse his multiple sclerosis, written about the secrets of Aboriginal healing. It's amazing as the journey was. You said that the real story happened after he came back. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Sure. Well, Gary was this physicist. He was a very black and white scientist. It doesn't exist if you can't prove it to me. And he desperately went into that Australian outback desert to be with this Aboriginal tribe because they were the only ones that he felt could help him with his MS because he was dying from multiple sclerosis. So I think he recognized there's a lot of gray that exists that can't be proven, but it did definitely exist. And he became aware that he had a spirit guide that was with him all the time. And when he came back from the outback, actually less than 2 weeks later, he was so remarkably changed. He had feeling in his body, which he hadn't had in 7 years because he had been a quadriplegic. He had increased mobility, but more than anything, Allayah, he had been transformed probably emotionally. He started developing the same gifts that the Aborigines have, where he became telepathic to things, to people, to animals, to birds, and he could start seeing auras. And he, very interesting, he started developing the ability to start seeing the inner workings of people's bodies. He could see the chakra spinning. He could see the tumors and where they were located. He could see cancer. So this was pretty
amazing.
And for a scientist, a physicist, this was a whole different world that he had not acknowledged existed, and he started being able to communicate very easily with his spirit guide. So that really shook him up.
So he really just totally embraced the spirit. It's not that he turned his back on his leaning towards science. I mean, he actually took more courses to get himself look at things through a larger perspective, didn't he?
Yeah, that's well put. That's exactly right. He embraced it all and had a bigger, broader perspective than he had before. So, because I think they all do fit together if you just are open, and that's what happened is he became more open, following that inner voice, that soul's calling. He just kept following those little breadcrumbs that led him to this path of greater opening and awareness.
So, in Kim, how did he embrace meeting his spirit guide? Now, I know this is some future, book of yours too, which I'm kind of throwing in there. Working with spirit guide for a man that was so practical, and then to go out there and all of a sudden they're saying, okay, you have spirit around you. You have guides around you. You need to listen. And they talk.
And I think the reason he really couldn't discredit it, or his mind was trying to, negate it, but he was actually feeling something physical. So it was like somebody was tugging on his earlobe. And so he could feel it. So it was a big eye-opener for him. And what's interesting is I have found on this path, I've been doing consultations for a long time, and some of the most gifted people who have the ability to hear or see or really connect, those are the people that seem to have some of the biggest doubts.
Raising my hand here.
And I did the same thing. We doubt it. Our minds just don't want to believe that this is real. And honestly, some of the most gifted people are the ones with some of the bigger doubts. In the past, maybe their grandmother has been put into a mental institution because she could hear voices. There's fear around it. And so they have to recognize this is real. It's okay. It's a very loving presence here to assist. It took me a long time to develop that trust and to recognize that they are helping, that there is tremendous help. And that's what the, Aboriginal Secrets of Awakening talks about, is that process of going to the point of finally recognize, oh my gosh, I've got a lot of help here, and how you're being lovingly guided. And that's a big eye-opener. It makes a huge shift in your life.
What I like is the point that you bring out about the grandmothers or a family member, because that's something in the awakening process people don't realize. People, on the whole, a lot of people see all this information about, you're going to be becoming awake. They don't realize that it's a very slow process, an accepting process, because if the world just woke up and saw things or people or ascended masters, or all of a sudden you could talk to animals or see auras, we'd really... Yeah. It's a process.
Exactly. And it was a process for Gary, too. He didn't just suddenly have the ability to hear birds talking to him. I mean, it took and a process for me, too. And what I think what's happening, and I know that you're aware of this, is everybody on the planet is starting to increase in the veil is thinning, if you will. They're starting to get more telepathic. Synchronicities are happening. They're starting to feel this guidance much more strongly. So it's happening and increasing in everybody. And like you said, gradually for most of us.
Yeah, sometimes that if it happens too quickly, that people are saying, okay, I'm ready and I'm going to do all these things that are going to attunements and stuff, I'm just going to become awake. They don't realize that their higher spirit, their higher self, or their guides are going, and you brought this out to me personally, they'll put challenges in your way. No, you're not supposed to go there yet. We'll let you know when you're supposed to go there, else they'll give you, a teasing sample. And some people have these Kundalini experiences and they can't handle it. They go, they really need to listen to what's inside them. And that's why I like your story, which we're going to be getting into, and Gary's story, because you're real. You're real people. You didn't start off, we're going to be teachers of this. We're not going to be above you and we're going to say, this is what you're going to have to do. And listen, there are attunements, there's this energy, this work, etc., etc. These two books are very personal, and I call them songs of your soul, because it's what's inside you.
Yeah, thank you. That's beautiful. Yeah.
And
we needed to get vulnerable. You've got to get that rawness and that vulnerability, because people can relate to that. And so you have to dig a little deeper and be willing to expose that, because it's going to help people. And that's why I was willing to do that.
Yeah, because they are both very personal stories. And it's nice to see normal people going through this. Well, we'll continue on the next break, and we'll get into more into your involvement.
Bringing you the best of the conscious minds in the world. OMTimes Radio, your conscious lifestyle on steroids. Simone Milasas would like you to know that business can be fun, which is why she wrote the book, Joy of Business. What if you could have the joy of business rather than the stress and struggle? Most of the time, the only thing stopping you from a thriving business is you. In the Joy of Business book, Simone gives you access consciousness tools and pragmatic ways to get out of your own way and to create the business, life, and living you know is possible and beyond what this reality says is achievable. Business is joy. It's creation. It's generative. It can be the adventure of living. You can purchase your copy of the book through Amazon or Joy of Business website, www.accessjoyofbusiness.com.
Are you ready to shift your energy, consciousness, and limiting beliefs? Join me, Shefali Burns, every Monday at 5 p.m. Eastern on Shifting with Shefali here on OMTimes Radio. Shift the blocks, limitations, and negative energies that have kept you from experiencing a life filled with joy, peace, love, abundance, and happiness. Are you ready to shift with Shefali? Are you ready to shine your brilliance?
Hello, I'm Miriam Knight of New Consciousness Review, inviting you to my new show where I interview the rising stars of the conscious awakening. We'll explore the many faces of consciousness and action and intriguing perspectives on life, the universe, and everything in between. Join us each Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern on the Rising Stars Show.
Being a radio host on IOM-FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the Internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network. Free your mind. Expand your soul. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Well, we're back with Robbie, and I'm a little bit more grounded so I can think. The Aboriginal Secrets of Awakening. Now, this is Robbie's story, but it's also a beautiful love story, which I cried throughout the whole book. Oh. But the point is, I want to bring out, you have two important lessons there. It also, it shows your life, as I say, your song of your soul, what you were going through. And it also brings in the work of soulmates or twin flames of two people meeting who made a contract to meet in this life, and the evolving love and also the challenges. And people sometimes think, I want to meet my soulmate, or twin flame. And they have, yes, it's intensely beautiful, but usually these contracts bring challenges that you work through. But it's such a deep experience that people don't realize that, they just want all the, the hearts and the flowers and stuff, but they don't realize the two souls meeting in a contract like this is deep spiritual growth and how you have evolved from it. So I'd like to get a little bit more into your story. Now, one of the questions you presented is, you said that the Aboriginal people believe in the power of the mind, and there's unlimited assistance for healing available to everyone. You've had 2 brushes with death and your own miraculous healing from hepatitis C and fibromyalgia, using their natural healing principles. Now, can you give people your story on this?
Sure.
You were a normal person, very busy, and how all this happened.
Well, when I delivered my son back in 1985, I was given a blood transfusion because it was a really rough delivery. It was like 36 hours, I think. And so they thought that they had lost a lot of blood, but that blood transfusion had hepatitis C. And so I ended up with the hepatitis C almost killing me, and then they put me on an experimental treatment. They didn't have any they didn't even have a name for that. They called it non-A, non-B, so they certainly didn't have any kind of treatment. But they put me on this experimental cocktail of medications that created severe brain damage in me, and I ended up with fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome, and I couldn't get out of bed for at least 6 months. Honestly, I could not remember how to keep toothpaste in a tube or how to get water out of a tap. I was in really bad shape. But I was determined to stay alive and survive because I had this little boy that I really wanted to parent and love. And so I set out. Western medicine didn't have any answers for me, but I found out that there's all kinds of answers out there and that there's tremendous healing available for people just tapping into that inner guidance. I discovered that we are a body, mind, and soul, and all of those are very much involved in healing, and that a lot of times we don't recognize the role that emotions play in healing or creating illness. But the answers, how to heal, are all within. Your body wants to heal. It's trying to heal, but something's blocking it from healing. And so that's where you have to start taking your power back. It doesn't matter what Western medicine tells you, because Western medicine didn't think I could heal. They said that I would have hepatitis C the rest of my life, and I don't think any of us thought I'd live another couple of years. And here I am 20 years later, totally cured of all of that, and recognizing I had to take my power back, tap into this inner guidance and on how to heal and follow that. It's there for all of us, that gut feeling, that instinct. People come to me because they know that somehow for them that chemo just doesn't feel right. And I say, follow your intuition, follow that gut. It's there guiding you. And so that's what put me passionately on this path. after healing myself, I wanted to wake other people up on how they can heal and how they've been stopping that healing from happening, and recognizing the most potent, powerful tool in healing is your mind. And this is a natural thing, and it's something that we all have access to. It's just that a lot of us have been disempowered. We've let our power be taken away by the money-making aspects of business, and we've lost our, sense that we are these powerful. We are very, very powerful healers and creators, and we're not believing that anymore.
I was going to say, but you always didn't have that feeling. In the beginning, you were saying how your life was so different. You were just, a person, symbolic of what a lot of people are going through. Just surviving day to day. You had your goals, the different things that you wished. And then it seems like part of your spiritual path was, okay, let's make it really uncomfortable. That she's going to finally going to say, knock on the door there, okay. And then that seems, from what I'm reading in the book, that's how, when you finally opened that door a little bit, then you went on a search. Mm-hmm. And empowered yourself and found the information you need to find. And then after that door opened wider and you got, you start regaining your health, then enters meeting Gary. It seemed like it all kind of fell into place.
Yes. Exactly. Although my mind was kicking and screaming the whole time, but eventually you start following that voice more. You're guided in how to heal, or to that soul's vision of what you should be doing for a job, or that ideal romantic partner. You start letting the mind shift more into following the guidance rather than trying to be in charge. And that's a big difference. And that's where most people, I think, get into trouble, is they've got their minds in charge, but their minds weren't designed to be in charge. The mind doesn't know how to heal you. The mind doesn't know what's the perfect job or what's the ideal romantic partner for you. It doesn't know how to bring that to you. That has to come from a higher consciousness, whether you want to call that, the oneness or your spirit guides or your higher self, but it's a higher consciousness than your mind. The mind was designed to follow the guidance. That's the difference. So that's why I keep saying, if you go into that, tap into that inner knowledge, that gut feeling, that instinct, intuition, that knowing that comes in your heart, it will lead you to what it is that you desire. And when you let that guidance happen, it is so much bigger and better than your mind ever imagined. And you're going to find immense fulfillment and joy, because this is what your soul had in mind. It's so much bigger and better than your mind. So that's what people need to start being aware of, is shifting that mind, that controlling, fearful mind, into more of a position of being a servant to the soul, just following the guidance, not being in charge.
I think people are so afraid, they're afraid to take that step until they pretty much hit bottom. Mm-hmm. And then it's, I've got nothing else, Yeah. And that's when it seems like the doors open, and then people take back. I mean, the words are used so much, they take back their power, but it really is true. You see that, as Robbie said, a lot of times, and I totally agree, as a holistic nurse, a lot of disease, a lot of things are created by the emotional body. The lessons for you to learn through. A lot of times people, for example, if people are very close-hearted, this is, some of their challenges in life, they'll develop heart problems. When you start to look at it detached, you can see how the emotions affect the body. And a lot of times, like we were saying, you really have to hit bottom. And Robbie hit bottom.
I think, it's like, how bad does it have to get before you finally let go? That's one of my favorite quotes is, "Let go or be grabbed." It's about recognizing certain emotions, the fear-based and negative emotions, can be really toxic to the body. And some of the toxic emotions are, built in hatred, and that affects body until finally the body just can't handle it anymore. And if you have a genetic weakness, if your family line has a lot of heart problems and you're holding on to a lot of grief, that grief is, we feel it in our chest area, and it's blocking that chest area from really getting that flow and that life force moving through it. And so eventually you're going to create more problems in that heart area. So you need to become aware of it. So it comes back to that, how bad does it have to get? How sick do you have to get before you realize that these emotions are creating problems? So the illness, the physical challenge, is just a messenger. And I don't mean to, negate that, but it is a messenger letting you know that there's some emotions, some beliefs, some thought patterns that are really creating havoc. And that's why you don't just fix the physical or numb to that. You have to get to the root, that emotional core, which is what the Aborigines have taught us. If you don't uproot that, it's like picking the top of the dandelion. It'll come back again. So for me, I remember when I was, this typical Midwestern Catholic-raised, career woman with a young boy and a beautiful marriage, I remember feeling very guilty about taking any time for myself. The Catholic guilt, it's that guilt, that gift that keeps on giving. And I didn't feel like it was, I just didn't feel comfortable taking time to nurture myself until I became so depleted and in such bad shape that it's like, how bad does it have to get before you start loving yourself more? Before you start setting some boundaries and recognizing that you getting a nap is way more important than washing that kitchen floor. And so when I started loving myself and listening to my body and really taking care of myself and nurturing myself back to health, it's not like you fight the cancer. You listen to the message and you lovingly bring that body back into balance. That's a different approach.
And it truly works, because it's that's what kind of bringing it back, Gary's story. He started as a paraplegic. He regained feeling. He started to walk hesitantly. But then I noticed in this book he was back in the wheelchair. At one point, we'll have to go into that on the next one.
Bringing you the best of the conscious minds in the world. OMTimes Radio, your conscious lifestyle on steroids. As difficult as it is to believe, there are places in Africa where human traffickers sell albino children and their body parts for use in magic rituals. Humanity Healing International is actively working in Uganda to change this paradigm. The Albino Rescue Project finds albino children who are at risk and places them in safe schools and environments where they can learn and grow free from fear. To learn more or to sponsor a child, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Hi, this is Angela Levesque, host of Entanglement Radio. Join me Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern for inspiring conversations with visionaries in spiritual science and conscious healing. Entanglement Radio, Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern. Transcendent talk for the conscious mind.
Hi, this is Julie Geigel.
I'm Maggie Chula.
And I'm Catherine Glass.
And we're the Psychic Angel Channelers. Join us every week here on OMTimes Radio for Angel Talk Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time.
The angels have heard your call and are here to help.
Are you ready to receive?
Remember your magnificence with Angel Talk Tuesday.
Host your show on IOM-FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM-FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community. Free your mind. Expand your soul. OMTimes Radio. IOM-FM.
I'm back with Robbie, and I want to bring up one point. when in this book he mentions about he loves his wheelchair because it allows him to spend time with you and to concentrate on helping others. Because if he fully regained, and I think again this is a soul choice. I mean, you know him, you can elaborate on that, but I even notice, in my own life, or with my own husband, and the thing with wheelchairs, he had mentioned that too. He goes, if I didn't get sick, I wouldn't have all the time to be with you as much. I would be, working or doing a lot of other things that we have more time now to do things together, and it forms a deeper relationship, the soulmate contract. But it was sort of his choice in a way, would you say?
Well, people, that comment came about because people could see how challenging it was to be in a wheelchair, and they asked him if he ever got angry or resented it, and then that's where he said that wheelchair was the best thing that ever happened to him, because what it did was it created this very busy, globe-trotting physicist to sit for long periods and connect to the other side of the veil, to connect to his spirit guides, to connect to divine source, to connect to what's really more important and really the reality. Because like the Aborigines, they spend more than half of their time in dream time. They unplug from the mind and connect into this greater consciousness. And so that's exactly what the wheelchair did for Gary. Mm-hmm. So I think that it was always, he did go back to the Outback a year later and said, I'm not totally healed. It's been dramatically improved, but I'm not totally healed. I still need this wheelchair on some level. And the Aborigines said, well, that's between you and God. And what we came to realize is that it was never his soul's journey to totally heal. Looking back now, I can see that. At the time, we didn't know that. But I don't believe it was ever his soul's contract or intention or journey to ever totally heal. I think it was designed that he would come in, have this dramatic transformation in the Outback, spend the rest of his life passionately teaching the Aboriginals healing techniques to everybody, and then passing over, and then, which he did, 11 years later, and I didn't expect, Allayah, that when he passed over, he would be very, very involved with helping me. We realized, and we talk about it in that book, Aboriginal Secrets of Awakening, how at one point he came to me a year before he was going to be passing and said, I'm being told that I'm going to leave in a year, that I'm done here, and I can assist more from the other side of the veil. And we were really upset about that. But eventually we came to realize if you can help more from the other side of the veil, then who are we to stand in the way? And so when he did pass, he did show up every morning at 8 o'clock, very punctual man on both sides of the veil. And I didn't expect that. And so what I'm realizing is he's tremendously assisting on the other side of the veil. He's part of my spirit healing team that works with me. He's part of getting this book out to all these different countries around the world. He's very involved. And it's interesting how people will contact me and they can tell me that Gary's been helping them in so many different levels. He's very, very active in assisting people. So I think it was part of his journey to recognize that. Yeah.
I totally agree. That's the point I wanted to bring up, because sometimes, like I said, we get so lost in the everyday world. We don't look at the bigger picture. And
exactly.
I even know that myself, that's why I said I took that book very personally, because people say, well, all right, you're an energy healer. How come you're not 100%? And I'm like, I've thought about that. Believe me, I've thought about that. But in reading this book and talking to Robbie, I realized, no, this is part of the soul choice. You're put in positions where you can do the best good. And if I was 100%, I came back far better than any doctor ever thought I was going to come back, but I still have a lot of limitations. But it puts me in a position where I can do what I do now. If I was totally 100%, I'd have a whole different lifestyle, and it may not involve spirituality. So this is a very important part to look at this journey of both of theirs, and how even Gary, like I said, he connects with Robbie, very much part of her journey now in support and in the consultations she does. And he does reach out. I told her when I was reading the book, I said, gee, I see Gary. And I'm going, this is really interesting. And he's really very involved in my own understanding of things. So
yeah.
I
think what's important, I think that's beautifully put, and I think what people need to remember, and I love that you brought this up, is that this is a soul's game. This is a soul's journey, and that what happens to you is very deliberate for your soul's journey and what you wanted to experience and how you wanted to grow and what you wanted to learn. And everybody's journey is very unique. So what comes to you is very specific for your journey, and there are no accidents. Nothing is random. There's no misfits. And so you start recognizing that to heal, and I mentioned this before, you have to have an alignment of the body, mind, and soul. And if the soul is not aligned with healing, like I don't think it was with Gary, then healing can't take place. But if all three of those are aligned, healing will happen. And for most people, and I really want our listeners to hear this, for most people, the soul is aligned with healing. It's just that our bodies are just crumbling under the emotional weight. They just, like you said, how bad does it have to get before you stop doing certain, actions or thoughts that are creating the problem? But most souls are aligned with healing. We don't need to go through it. Now, you and I know we needed to go through these experiences because it would put us in a position of helping other people recognize how to heal or teaching them. And we had to go through those experiences and go through the trenches to be able to assist others. But for most people, that's not, yes, that also happens. And a lot of people are here to heal that stuff so that then they can teach others how to do that as well.
I think
it's very common.
I think that's what they call the path of the wounded healer. You have to walk the walk in order to understand. I mean, you can read books like crazy, but you have to experience it. Even the people that you counsel, you open the door to their mind and say, okay, this is very possible. And this is what people need, because they need somebody normal saying, I've been through it. And you really can heal, and you can change your life around. But you need to be open to it. And unfortunately, again, as far as disease goes, sometimes it is created by the soul, purely as a challenge for your own growth. And I know a lot of us says, "Oh, why did I sign into that? I could have done something, maybe breaking a leg instead of having cancer or something, a little bit easier." But as Robbie has said, our souls design our lives.
Right. And we wonder, what did we sign up for? And it's not just people, it's some of the animals as well. They're like, oh, this is so much worse than I ever imagined. But it's important for people to know, number one, you're equipped for it, or because there's so much love behind all of this. You're equipped for it, or it wouldn't be on your plate. It wouldn't be given to you if you weren't able to handle it. And the other thing is that there's tremendous help on the other side of the veil if you'll ask for it. It's a free will planet, so they won't just barge in. But if you ask, they always respond to every single request. But they're going to do it in a way that's best for all, and it's usually way better than what you had in mind. So you're designed, it's designed that you would ask for, send me greater clarity. And it's not a please, because they always respond. It's a thank you. Thank you for giving me greater clarity about how to heal this. Thank you for helping me let go of this fear, or to find more patience, or to shift into more loving responses and just be patient and kind and gentle with myself as I learn how to negotiate this. It's amazing how much assistance can be had if you ask for it.
Or sometimes, I was going to say, sometimes they'll just point out a book, like, your 2 books, And that will lead
Right.
them to possibly talking to you or to talking to somebody that, for whatever, as you say, the answers always come in a way that is designed for them.
Exactly at the pace as well. There's that divine timing, like you said earlier, and I like that you brought that out. Maybe if you're not ready to have all the answers at once, they're not going to bring it to you because there's so much love. They're going to bring it to you little pieces as you're ready and open for it because they don't want to harm you. I've seen people who have had information given to them or visions or whatever, and they just shut down. It's too much.
Mm.
And so that's why there's tremendous love and genius to all of it. You just have to trust that it's there for a reason. Your human mind may not like it. We don't like the emotional pain and the physical pain, but that's a very strong way to get our attention and to get us to shift.
I think in both your books, one important lesson that's brought out is self-love and to appreciate that who you are. Our lives have so many challenges that you forget, you don't think you're worthy.
Yeah. People don't realize, I'm so thrilled you brought that up. People don't realize they are these beautiful, divine, luminous beings in a physical body at the moment on this really tough, challenging, hostile planet. And they willingly came here. They're very brave, and they chose to incarnate. And many of your listeners deliberately chose to incarnate now on the planet because we're moving and shifting into higher levels of awareness and awakening, and they wanted to be here. They weren't going to miss out on this. They wanted to know, how can I help? And sometimes it's something as bad as or serious as having a major illness and then learning how to heal it so that you can teach other people how to do that. It's all very deliberately planned. So, but what people forget is that they are these amazing, divine, luminous beings, really divine in a physical form, and they start buying into what the local tribes are telling them, how they're not worthy, they're not good enough, whatever. And it's like, that's your mind again. Wake up to that and pay attention to who's telling you that.
And if you go to Robbie's website, she has a nice little package. She has a lot of these blogs. She shared to me with me. Get your mind out of your, out of your way.
Yeah.
And we'll continue. This hour's going quickly. We'll go into our last segment in a few minutes.
Bringing you the best of the conscious minds in the world. OMTimes Radio, your conscious lifestyle on steroids. OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
If you've ever said, I do want it all. I do want happiness. I do want love. And I do desire the happily ever after fairy tale life, then this show is for you. Join me, Dame Nicole Brandon, for my internationally acclaimed show, Bridal Talk Radio, every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Pacific Time, where I'll bring you the top experts in the fields of communication, money, relationships, finance, pleasure, play, travel, sexuality, parenting, real estate, adventure, comfort, care, passion, and love.
Eros Evolution is where sexuality and spirituality meets. Join me, clinical sexologist Martha Tara Lee, on Eros Evolution on Thursdays, 4 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio.
Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network. Free your mind. Expand your soul. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Well, we're in our last segment. One thing I want to touch upon is Aboriginal healing. Going back to the ways of the ancestors, going back to spirit. And you were invited to participate in the healing ceremonies with an Aboriginal tribe near sacred Uluru.
Yes.
And I understand you thought you made a big mistake when you first arrived. I love your words. Everything part of this whole passage of how you got there. And when you got there, you kept on going, what did I do? I just loved it. Go ahead. Will you tell them about that?
Sure. Well, a year after Gary passed, he passed in 2007, I received an invitation to participate in healing ceremonies with the Aboriginal women in the Outback. The Aboriginal women had decided that they wanted to open up their ways to more people, and the men were really resistant to that, but eventually the women won out, as we tend to do. And so they invited, I think maybe about 20 people from around the world, and I was invited because I was teaching their healing techniques. So I went there and brought a friend with me, and when we got there, I just remember it feels like you've landed on Mars. The earth is red, and the desert is really harsh. It's just, you can't touch any stick. It'll just splinter off into your hand because it's been baking in 110, 120 degree heat. There's wild pigs, wild camels, some of the most dangerous snakes and spiders in the world in this desert. And so I just remember thinking, what did I do? This just is so scary. And then I honestly, I have to tell you, Allayah, I heard a plane overhead, and just somehow that connection to the modern world sort of gave me some comfort. But what we ended up doing is the Aboriginals are very, very connected and tuned in to the earth. They've never lost that connection. And when we started speaking out loud, that's a very primitive way of communicating. And we lost our ability to feel the earth, to hear the trees singing to us, to, communicate to Gaia. And the Aborigines have always maintained that telepathic and strong connection. So when we got there, we would perform ceremonies, and our energy would add to the power of the ceremonies. And we ended up, after about 5 or 6 days, creating these really powerful thunderstorms in the desert, which kept circling the camp, really a torrential downpour that we white women had no idea we were going to be doing that, or we would have certainly safeguarded and tucked away our sleeping bags, which were soaked by the end of the ceremony. But they needed these rains, and so we were able to help participate in that. And it's another example of how connected they are, how tuned in they are. So I just feel like the Aboriginal Outback, the remote ones, it's a very, very small percentage of the Aboriginals in Australia, but the remote ones are so tuned in, they're so awakened, they're so enlightened, and they're guiding us and giving us this information and telling us how we've been missing the mark and how to heal, and guiding us on how to awaken. And that's what these 2 books are about. The Secrets of Aboriginal Healing gave us their healing secrets so that you don't have to go to the Outback. This is the information you need. And the Aboriginal Secrets of Awakening show you bring to this beautiful awakening information to you to help you become more awake. That's gifts from them to the planet. They're very generous in that regard.
And then actually, like I say, you and Gary are bringing your personal stories in to make it real. And also for people to realize, this is something accessible for all of you. It doesn't matter if you're in Greece. It doesn't matter if you're in the United States. Wherever you are, you have your own little space, your own little sanctuary in your home that you can make it however you want to make it. Your own little temple space, your connection to the earth. And just open up to it. And I think that's what these books present, is showing that anything is possible. and getting back to, the ancestor energy. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I like that you mentioned that word open, because that's the key right there. You don't have to know how to do this yet, but just be open to it and ask and allow the guidance to happen. I think that we are so powerful. Every thought is creating something. There's no idle thoughts, and we don't realize how powerful we are in our healing abilities, how powerful we are in our creation abilities. And the Aborigines know that, and they will tell you that we civilized tribes really don't use our subconscious minds to any degree. They're actively going into dream time and creating what they want, whereas we just sort of let things happen and we're on autopilot. So people need to become more aware, more conscious of whether they're hanging out in a lot of negativity and fear, or are they in more love-based emotions, because that's really the key. That will heal you faster, and that will bring a lot of us are here to bring beautiful energies to the planet. We're bringing more compassion. We're bringing more unconditional love, and that's why you're here assisting, is to do that.
And I think so much, when we were saying to, don't be followers. I think that's the whole thing, is to empower your life, to take back what's within you already. And I think the first step is realizing, like Robbie said, we are spirit in human form, and we don't recognize the power of our thoughts. I see so many people trying to manifest, and they're going, why isn't it working? Well, first of all, I think, and I follow this myself. I read everything. I figure, okay, well, somebody knows more than me. And it's true. We all look for hints, but it all has to do about opening to just be what's within you, and realize if you start the day and say, oh, wow, this is going to be a lousy day, well, that's what you're going to get. Yeah. A lousy day.
Right.
If you're going
and I think you bring up a good point, too, if I can interrupt you for a second.
Sure.
Is that okay? I think it's important, what you brought up is when you're trying to manifest and it's not manifesting. It's not that you're being ignored or not, your requests aren't being answered, but they're being answered in a better way. I see healers who try to force their healing gifts into a full-time income, and their soul never intended that they would have a full-time income out of that, because they know it's going to burn them out or create injuries, but they bring them other beautiful ways of creating income. So it's about paying attention to what's my soul's intention here, what's my soul's desire, because that's when things start flowing. So those obstacles, constant obstacles getting in the way, are designed to shift you into the better path, to where they're trying to get you. Your spirit guides and angels can't force you to go down a path, but they can certainly ramp it up and nudge, as you and I have seen, to guide you to a better place, because they love you tremendously and they're trying to guide you to a much better place. That's what you need to remember. So simply stay open and let the mind follow the guidance, not dictate. Get that mind out from behind the wheel. That's not a good thing.
And stop always following a lot of this information. A lot of the information at the moment, you think, oh, well, this person knows what they're talking about. Experience does. And like I said, I've made the same mistakes. Believe me, I'll go and think, okay, this person knows it all. But it's experience, and to just totally allow yourself, open up to what's inside you. Follow your heart. I've always used that expression. Your heart actually dictates your mind. Your heart is the center where, spirit really is. It's not in your mind. If you follow your heart, you'll open up to what you need to know.
Yeah.
And like I said, don't really follow people. It'll show you. Maybe it'll guide you. Well, maybe you should read Robbie's books, or maybe you should have a consultation with her. I had a consultation with her. She had to slap me around a little, but she got...
And I think what people need to know too, that what I thought were mistakes, or I regretted or had resentment about things happening, you start realizing later every piece was needed or it wouldn't have happened. That's what I love about the Aborigines telling us, that there's no accident. If it needed to happen, it happened. And if it didn't happen, it wasn't supposed to. So every piece helped you grow. Every piece brought something to you. So there weren't mistakes. There was just more exploration and experience. It's the human mind that doesn't like this stuff. But the soul will tell you it's rich stuff or it wouldn't have happened.
I mean, it's really practicality. If you're going to walk into a door and get a black eye, it's going to dawn on you. Don't do that again. That's the lesson learned.
Right. Now you know what you didn't know before. Exactly.
Right. So, I mean, it's not that we're simplifying. Really, actually, a lot of inner truth is really very simple. But we make it harder. And that's why I wanted to bring out about follow your heart. Like I said, we're almost down to our last 2 minutes. But really, if you are drawn to this information we're talking about, check out Robbie Holz. Check out the 2 books that she has. Go to, holtzwellness.com?
Yes, H-O-L-Z. Yeah, H-O-L-Z as in zebra, wellness.com. Yeah. There's a lot of information we put up on the blog to help people. One of the popular ones is how to communicate with your guides or recognize their communication. And there's a lot of information to help people in every regard.
Yeah, and believe me, like I said, I've been clairvoyant and, I'm going on 67 for a lot of years. And there's days I don't listen. They're knocking on the door here. But Robbie's going to be writing a new book about how to communicate. And I can't wait till it comes out, Robbie.
Yeah, I'm excited. How to work with your team, even better.
All right, so I'm going to be in touch, and let me know when the book comes, and we'll be talking again. Thank you for an enjoyable hour.
Thank you so much. I've loved it.
Bye-bye.